Hello and welcome to the Carolina Panthers Football in My Mind podcast. I'm your host, Luke Farber. And what is in my mind today? Well, we got to look back at last week's game at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Henderson, Zach Taylor. They're a tough group. They've been in the playoffs when healthy, when Burrow's been healthy ever since he came into the league. They are a top flight team. They were in the Super Bowl a couple years ago, did lose, but it was going to be a challenge regardless, especially coming off our first win of the year, maybe an emotional high, maybe a bit of a letdown coming home, especially against a good opponent. The nice thing is that the Panthers came out and did not look flat. They did not look like they did the first couple weeks where they couldn't get any traction on offense and the run defense was porous. The run defense wasn't fantastic and the offense, wasn't top-notch mid-season form or whatnot, but it's showing improvement and it did not show a great regression, which I know us as Panther fans were a little scared of, and so that was good to see. Ended up being a final score of Bengals 34, Panthers 24. And really, it came down to missed opportunities, I think, for the Panthers. But let's go through the whole game, the whole team, see how everybody did. Anyway, we're going to start where we want to start every week on offense, and that's the offensive line. And honestly, they're doing a great job. They had another great game, no sacks for the second game in a row. There was one tipped pass on a pass rush that led to an interception, so we definitely got to clean that up. But at least the one interception of the game wasn't Dalton throwing it straight into the hands of the defender. We also had an excellent run game, over 5 yards a carry again. Chuba Hubbard got over 100 yards again. We only had 29 carries, which I would love to see that number in the 30s, over 35 if possible. But we got another opportunity to get the run game going again this week, and I'm sure we will. Also, one thing to note, we were 50% on third down conversions this game, and that's excellent, and we just need to keep it going and keep improving that number. So, nextly, how did our wide receivers look without Adam Thielen? Well, there were some struggles. I still, Mingo and Leggett had a couple of drops. Deontay had a couple of passes that were broken up from him, so they might have looked like drops, but they weren't. The defender got his hand in and split them up. However, Dalton did miss Johnson on a couple of deep balls, and those were another missed opportunity that I was talking about before. So we had some drops, a couple by Leggett, especially one key one, Mingo, and then the missed deep balls to Deontay, as well as the tip pass interception. So these were some hiccups within our passing game that we need to straighten out. Obviously, missing Thielen and his reliable route running and hands is difficult, especially since we haven't necessarily had a tight end step up and really assert themselves in the passing game yet this year. We're looking for Tremble or Sanders or some combination of the two to really get in there and start really making some plays. But we'll see. I think right now we're in a really good place with Deontay. It really looks like nobody can cover the guy, and I think the trade rumors are funny, especially because this isn't baseball where you can, trade your best player for all these star prospects that in 3-4 years could be some of the best players in the game. You would maybe be able to trade him for a third round pick, maybe a second round pick. And whether or not those guys ever materialize into starters, more or less Pro Bowl caliber players like Johnson, is in question. It's seriously in question. So I see no reason to trade him, especially with the offense finally functioning well. And I believe that the coaching staff and the players and the people in that building have the belief that with this offense functioning better with Andy Dalton, there's no reason why we can't compete every week and compete for the division. Now, our division is not as bad as it has been the last couple of years, but it is still a very competitive division. And if we're able to make progressions and grow as a team and get better, and who knows, by the end of the season, we might find ourselves just outside the mix, maybe in the mix. Who knows? It's a long season. There's only been 4 games so far. Anyway, moving on to the defense. Run defense was a little bit better. We gave up under 5 yards a carry, which is great. Still over 4, not great. And we really did a good job with their number 1 back, Zach Moss. But when Chase Brown got in there, their kind of change of pace back, he gashed us. And I'm not really sure if that was something schematically where the coaches had seen something in the Bengals where they weren't likely to run. And so we weren't maybe in the best play calls or in the best positions. Or it could have been eye discipline when you get a bunch of defenders with a secondary running back in there, not expecting it, and also not expecting him maybe to have the shiftiness or the speed that he does. And you can over pursue or under pursue. My guess is probably a little bit of both, a little bit of out scheming and a little bit of eye discipline that caused those errors. Obviously, our tackling is getting better, but everybody saw the 63-yard touchdown to Jamar Chase where he pinballed off about 4 guys that really, especially, I think it was X that had the first chance to take him down and just gave him a shoulder. You really got to wrap up, especially with a guy as explosive and as strong and as agile as Jamar Chase. I believe he's the best after the catch wide receiver in the NFL. So we were lackadaisical on one play, and it cost us a touchdown. Also, missed opportunity to get him on the ground quickly and efficiently. And that's what happened. Anyway, we still don't have much of a pass rush to speak of. It did less even this week than the couple weeks before, which was disappointing to see because we're really going to need to ramp that up if we're going to be a more solid defensive team, be able to get off the field on 3rd down and be able to get the ball back to Dalton in the offense so that we can win some games. So obviously we need somebody in the pass rush to step up. Burrow had way too much time, and a lot of times in zone coverage was able to find T. Higgins very easily. And yeah, it's just the conversions are too easy. They keep the ball for too long. And with a team that's as offensively talented as the Bengals, they're going to score. They just are. Anyway, overall takeaways from the game, it came down to mistakes. First of all, our first drive, we went down the field and we got stopped on a goal line stand. No points, no touchdown. That obviously came back to bite us with a 10-point loss. Especially we jump out to a 7-0 lead. Who knows? It may change the course of the game. So not being able to take advantage of that opportunity to score first and score a touchdown on our opening drive. Coming back to the end of the first half, the Bengals were able to do what we couldn't do and score on a goal line drive with 1 second to go in the half. So they went up 21-14 at halftime, got the ball in the second half kick, scored again, and all of a sudden we were down 2 touchdowns in the second half. I was very proud and happy to see the resilience of the team and everybody fight back, and that is a great sign moving forward, especially being able to make halftime adjustments and to make it a game after being down 14 to a really talented opponent when you've been a kick around in the NFL for a while. So all of that was good to see. adding on top of those mistakes, the drop passes and the missed long balls really would have allowed us to convert at least a couple more first downs to keep some possible scoring drives going, if not outright score on a long pass play. So we need to clean up those mistakes and we'll be good to go. All right, moving on to Chicago. We're playing in Chicago, 1 p.m. Eastern. So we're taking on, obviously, Caleb Williams and the number one pick, the guy that we gave up, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey, and Bryce Young to not pick. But I digress. Anyway, first thing to start with, let's start with their offensive line. It's bad. It has not performed well, and Caleb Williams has taken 16 sacks in 4 games. We want to keep that going, obviously. Our pass rush has not been good, but we have an opportunity to take on a rookie quarterback who likes to hold on to the ball too long and likes to try to make hero plays and is really agile and can run around and avoid our pass rushers for quite a while. However, I think the longer he does that and the longer he tries to make hero ball throws down the field, we're going to have a better chance to intercept him. And in fact, I think our lack of a pass rush might even help. He'll just be running around back there forever thinking that he can throw the ball downfield and fit it in some window, and JC or Mike Jack or X is going to come up with a pick. He's thrown 4 interceptions in 4 games. Let's make it 5 in 5 games. How about that? Okay, moving on to their running back. I think that's obviously where this game is going to turn for us offensively. Our running game our run defense has been the poorer part of our defense so far this year. Now, DeAndre Swift hasn't quite got his running attack going this year. He did have a good game last week, but he is a very dangerous threat receiving out of the backfield. And obviously, we lost Shaq for the season with an Achilles last week. Shaq, man, my heart goes out to you, brother. I'm so upset for you. But I'm so happy to hear that you'll be coming back and playing again. And we miss you. We love you. We want you a speedy return. It's gonna be tough without you. You're our leader. You're our main dog. And I guess it's time for somebody else to step up. But we also lost Josie Jewell, our second inside linebacker starter, for at least a few weeks with a hamstring. And one thing I was saying in the season preview, and I've said a few times probably before on the pod, is that I believed that our top line guys, both on offense and defense, were solid, were veterans, were talented, had seen play and could produce. But our depth is really unproven and really young. So we're going to have at least one rookie stepping into starting middle linebacker position. And our second guy is just a second or third year player. So how they are going to match up and be able to defend Swift will be one of the keys for our defense, I believe, especially in the passing game. It's going to be difficult to stick with him, but it's going to have to be an emphasis, and hopefully, and I'm sure the coaches have been tuning them up in practice all week. Anyway, moving on. Their wide receiver group is obviously very talented. DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Rome Odunze, all first-round talents. The 2 veteran guys have been to multiple Pro Bowls. And the thing I do feel good about is our corner play and our secondary play has been really solid. JC's having a good start to the year again. Mike Jackson has been impressive in parts. And honestly, with the lack of pass rush we've gotten, even especially even in the last 2 weeks and against Justin Herbert and Los Angeles, that we have blanketed the receivers. I have seen the few sacks we've had been coverage sacks, and how many times I've seen the QB have to throw the ball into the sidelines because we've got everybody covered. So the corners, the secondary, they're going to have to be on the same page. They're going to have to be on top of their game with this excellent wide receiver core. But like I was saying before, hopefully the poor offensive line and Caleb Williams' propensity to throw the ball to the other team, I believe, will give us some help with that. Moving on to our offense against their defense. Their run defense has not been particularly good, but their pass defense and their scoring defense are close to the top of the league. They've been harassing quarterbacks as far as pass rush, and they've been turning quarterbacks over as far as interceptions. So our O-line, which has performed really well so far this year and is continuing to improve, has not given up sacks for the last 2 games. Let's see if we can keep that going. Andy Dalton threw the one interception last week, but it was a tip. So we can hopefully eliminate that and have no turnovers again. So what is our key to victory? What is our key to offense? It's obviously running the ball. It's chuba, 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 chuba. Keep pounding that rock. Get those carries up over 30. Get them up over 35. Let's have that 5 yards a carry. Let's dominate on the ground and set up play action because nobody can cover Deontay one-on-one. And if they want to bracket him, then Leggett, I mean, you saw what happened. We can get the ball into his hands. The guy is just so big and so fast. And I expect him to clean up the couple drops that he had from last week. That was one of his top attributes coming out of South Carolina, is that he just didn't drop balls. So I'm not worried about that personally. Anyway, let's see if we can have a tight end step up, perhaps, with Adam Thielen still being out. We want to see who's going to step up into that second, third wide receiver role. I'm still waiting for Mingo. I still believe he's got some potential, but at this point, he just hasn't had a whole lot of production with his opportunities. So we'll see how many opportunities he gets. We'll see what his production's like. But I think Jalen Coker and David Moore may have a little bit more play in this game. We'll see. Anyway, what do I expect to happen? I'll tell you what I expect to happen. I expect the running game and the offensive line, our running game, to dominate against the Bears. I expect us to go in there and impose our will on their defense and hit with complementary play action over the top. I believe that Caleb Williams will do exactly what I thought he would and try to play hero ball. And I believe our secondary is good enough to blanket those receivers and come up with 2. That's right. Count them, 2 interceptions of Caleb Williams. No interceptions for Andy Dalton. Chuba with over 130 yards on the ground. We dominate and win 30-17 in Chicago for our second win of the year. And let's just keep the ball rolling. Let's keep marching. Let's keep stacking up wins. Let's keep pounding. All right, everybody. Have an excellent weekend. Enjoy the game. I'll talk to you next week.